nigga like me, man, I love the game. I love the hustle, man.
All right. Yo, what's up, guys? Journalisam TV. I'm here with the Real Me with Rel.
Yes, sir.
What's up, man? How's your day been so far?
It's pretty good, brother. Pretty good. It's got me a little cut today. I'm right here in Sunny Hills Barbershop. You know what I mean? Shout out my compas. You feel me? We're right here. Cool little Thursday vibe. I'm ready for the weekend. How you feeling, brother?
Sure, I'm doing good, bro. Anything major planned for you today?
Not too much today. I think, what do I got planned today? I just had to get this cut and then probably just do some more promo for the real interview that we just shot right now. Like, that's pretty much it, I think, for the most part, man. What about you? You got anything else going on
Sure,
today,
I'm probably going to do some editing myself, you know, I got some vlogs, some interviews coming out.
Hell yeah, man.
Well, I'll tell people a little bit about yourself, what it is that you do.
What I do, so my name's Rel, of course, the Real Me with Rel. I'm a podcaster out here. I'm based out in mostly Los Angeles and Hollywood. That's where I film, and in Melrose too as well. But I started out in my house. I grew up around here, around the 562 area, like Whittier, which is not too far from here. And yeah, I've been doing the podcast for about 2-3 years now. I'm just doing interviews with people in entertainment, such as, Riodayungog or Desto or things of that nature, brother.
So what made you want to get into journalism in the first place? What drew you to it?
I think it was multiple things that drew me to it. I feel like nothing specifically. Growing up, I was always into entertaining people, whether it be dancing or my mom used to make me do little dance videos when I was younger, and then I threw the parties and stuff when I was in high school as well. So I was one of those function people, and I was a promoter, so I did that. So I was always into entertaining people. You know what I mean? I feel like the podcast thing I didn't figure out a little later in life, probably when I was around 19 or 20, which is still actually pretty early in life to know what you want to do. But yeah, I didn't figure out until a little later in my life. But yeah, that's pretty much what kind of drew me to it. And then the COVID had something to do with it too. When the COVID was going on, a lot of shows production was on pause. So it kind of forced us to really be on YouTube more. A lot of people on YouTube, and I think that's when podcasts started growing. And I think that's where it really caught my interest. So it was a mixture of things, bro. Yeah, a mixture of things.
So how long have you been doing this for? How many years have you been in the game?
I'm on my third year now. I'm on my third year. This is my third year with the podcast. It's been great. Like I said earlier in this interview, I started in my house, and then now we film all over in places like this, or in studios in Hollywood, or in stores on Melrose with my boys out there, Desto and Milo, or I'm trying to think some other places we record. Mostly studios, barbershop. It's a lot of places, but yeah, man, it's my third year.
So when you first picked up the camera, was it something you knew you wanted to take serious, or was it just a hobby, something on the side you were doing?
It was definitely something I knew I wanted to take serious, bro, because it was a thought process that I went through. I think but a couple months before I started the podcast, I had the idea of it, and then I took a couple months just to build not my platform, but what I was about to do. So starting my YouTube channel, trying to get people to subscribe, looking into guests I can get on. When I started out, I had some connections in LA because I did grow up with the party scene, so I knew some DJs and some promoters and stuff like that. Pretty much anyone that kind of did parties in LA kind of knows some people around the way. So I knew some people that for sure I knew I could start out with. So I think I just was trying to line that up, so make sure I got some interviews ready for people. And yeah, so when going into it, yeah, I had a pretty good idea that I wanted to take it serious, for the most part. And then I just kind of learned more as I went along, for sure. Yeah.
So what or who are some major influences for you in the journalist game? Who do you look up to? Who's someone you take inspiration from?
I think originally what got me to start this podcast is I wanted to be the podcast that I didn't see out there, and which is a genuine, of course, Black-owned podcast. So I think I wanted to become the podcast that I wanted to see. I think that's really was a big part of my driving me to get it started as well. So when it comes to influences, I don't have too many influences, bro. But I think I definitely am a big fan of who's a good podcast I'd be watching. I love Theo Von. Theo Von's a great podcast. I love the comedian podcast. I think those are probably my favorite entertaining ones. I love what's another good one? Full Send. I like their podcast too. They kind of went off the rails with the UFC stuff, so I don't watch it as much. But Full Send's a good one. What's another good one I like? Impulsive's a good one. I like Logan Paul's podcast. They're pretty cool too as well. They got some nice guests. Yeah, bro. I'm really the biggest fan of me, bro. On some real shit. I feel like I really am trying to not portray, but I'm trying to become what I wanted to see in LA, and I feel like that's what we're doing for sure.
So you mentioned growing up in the Whittier, La Habra area.
Yeah.
What was your experience like growing up here?
Growing up in Whittier was my experience. It was cool. It's mostly suburban. Like anyone that hasn't been to Whittier, it's pretty much suburbs. It's like 15, 20 minutes outside of LA. But overall, my experience, it was cool. You know, I grew up with the Mexicans and stuff. I love my Mexican, my familia. So, but besides that, it was pretty dope. I liked it. It was cool. A little chill vibe. A lot of people will tell you different like experiences growing up in Whittier because it's such a big city. I grew up more towards like uptown area, so it's kind of a neutral area. But if you talk to anyone from like, I don't know, maybe South Whittier, they'll probably tell you a little, maybe a different experience. Or maybe even like East Whittier. That's where I went to school, Lucerna. That's like a little more rich side. But for the most part, overall, growing up in Whittier was pretty cool. Yes, they just need some more black people. I'm not gonna lie. But besides that, it was dope.
So is there any real entertainment scene around that area? Would you say? Like, is there anybody that's like rapping, doing any sports or anything coming out of your area?
I hear there's rappers out. Like I hear that there be rappers out here in Whittier and stuff like that, but for the most part, not really. There's not really too many people that do entertainment that are from Whittier. I would honestly strongly say I am definitely probably the first person from Whittier that got like Los Angeles artists to come out here. Like, and if you guys, you know, the Real Meal Throw podcast, you guys can check me out. But if you look at my season 1 when I started in my house, a lot of those artists are from LA based, you know, Melrose, Hollywood, downtown, Cypress, and like Baby Stone, HBK Joshi. So I had a lot of people from LA actually coming through to Whittier, and I don't think there's anyone besides me that was really actually kind of doing that. And I didn't really look at it like that until like a year later, until like someone came up to me and said like, oh, I'm thinking about starting my own studio in Whittier, and I never really looked at it like as a studio, but it really was, bro. Like it really was a studio. I turned my living room into like a podcast set, and yeah. So to answer your question, not too many, bro. Whittier is not really. I mean, Whittier it's suburban, bro. Like you'll have some wannabe rappers that are around here that do their thing, but for the most part, it's not really known for entertainment people. Yeah, not really.
So as someone coming up from there, how do you plan to push the narrative forward? How do you plan to keep things going for your city and your brand, your community?
I think my plan on doing that and keeping it going, like I said, like this is my 3rd year doing the podcast. When I first started, I was in the house, like I mentioned, you know, multiple times, but it was a lot easier to do things more for the community. So when I had my friends on or people that were from the area that wanted to do the podcast, I was more free to do more interviews, so I was able to support and go out and do more things. But how I plan on keep on doing that is the best that I can. I've gotten a couple people from Whittier out there to Hollywood in the studio to record, but since I'm not really based in Whittier anymore, I can't really do as many podcasts as I wish that I can. But I do still plan on doing content with the community. It just has to look different, so it has to be maybe like a vlog or something that's more set up, like where I could pull up and we could do an interview, because I just don't have a home base set in Whittier anymore. But I still plan on making content from people in Whittier, just like maybe in different ways than I was originally at the set. But however that may look, outside content, whatever, you know.
So do you remember the first interview you ever did?
First interview or first episode?
The first interview, like the first guest you had, like were you nervous? How'd you go about setting it up?
Man, okay, so my first interview, my first episode was with my brother. So I started with my first episode ever was with my brother. We did that. So my first interview was with this guy named Hector Duran. He is an actor right there, and he got at the time he just did a show on Netflix with Steve Carell. So he had some traction going, and plus he got a movie with Disney as well. I knew him a little prior to the podcast, so I wasn't as nervous, I would say, to be honest with you. But yeah, that was my first interview. It was Hector Duran, and I wasn't too nervous because I kind of already knew him. I'm trying to think of an interview that I did that I didn't know the guest. I would say it would probably have to be. It gotta be like AMBJ, I think, or something like that. I think AMBJ was probably like my 4th or 5th episode. It happened real fast, bro. Like, like every month I was filming episodes, but my 4th, 5th episode was probably the first person I didn't meet I did meet for the first time. So I would say Jay was the first interview I did that I didn't know. Me and him are really cool to this day now, which is trippy. But when he pulled up, I was pretty nervous, man. I had a couple of other instances, but this is the one I'm thinking about right now. He pulled up, manager, security, his sister. So it was just a lot of people. I was by myself, just like yourself. You know what I mean? Just trying to be professional with it. I had my set, and I was kind of nervous, bro. I was a little nervous. I think. I have notes though. Do you use notes when you do interviews? Yeah. I think I had notes, so I wasn't too bad. But I used to talk really, really quick, bro. So I used to like ask a question and then they answer, and then ask another question. So as a podcaster, I feel like I learned to get better at that as time goes on, because you don't want to like grill people. You know what I mean? You kind of want the conversation to be fluid. You want to be able to give your own thoughts as well, and kind of make it more genuine and organic. So. AMBJ was definitely my first time doing an interview where I got super nervous. I could name another time too as well as Run That Back West. That's my dog. I'm gonna plug you with West. We're gonna do an interview with West, bro. I got you. We're gonna do an interview with West. We're gonna lock that in. We can do it even at his crib. And he stays. I'm not even gonna do that right now. But he stays in the IE.
He stays locally.
He stays in the IE. So we set that up. We'll set that up. But the first time I interviewed West was pretty nervous because he slid through deep, man. Like he pulled up like I think he was like, you cool if my people come? And I thought he meant maybe like 2 people max, 3. Bro pulled up with like 6, 7 people, like all YTB chains and everything, like all iced out. And I just had my friend with me that day, and I was so nervous, bro. That interview was supposed to. Most of my interviews can range from like 35 to an hour, maybe an hour and 45 minutes, maybe. Like that's a good range. But that interview itself was literally like 20 minutes long. Like it was pretty short because I was so like nervous, bro. Like it was just like, it's your first time doing it, like, you know what I mean? So you're just kind of like overthinking it while it's happening. You're like, I don't know if this guest is fucking with me. Is he kind of like not answering? So that definitely was a time where I got super nervous. Run that back West for sure.
So how do you go about networking and putting yourself out there? How do you meet people in the industry?
There's a lot of ways to network, man. There's a lot of ways to network out here, to be honest with you. When I put out content, I do it based off of, is this gonna be good content? Is it gonna, do good numbers? Gotta do one or the other. So you gotta really be able to differentiate when you're doing content, what it's gonna help you with. So necessarily, and this is what I was trying to, talk to you about before, when you do certain things, you might not necessarily get something out of that like specific interview, but it could be other things that come along with it. You know what I mean? It could be just like, sometimes I'll do an episode just knowing that someone that I really want is gonna see it. And that's things I was trying to explain to you. So what was the question again, brother? My bad.
About networking, how you
networking. I'm sorry, bro. See, this is what I do, bro. I forget, bro. But so when it comes to networking, I think there's multiple ways you can really get things done. Like I said, necessarily you might not get the big interview you want, but if there's something you could do to get seen by somebody, I feel like that's a very smart way of going away about it. And I think that's a big part of what I did going up into the podcast game. I did things, so if I couldn't really necessarily get to someone I really wanted, I would look like, okay, who's their producer? Who's their manager? Who makes their clothing? I don't know who's really tight with this person, but necessarily isn't obviously this person. Yeah. And I think like that's a good way of getting your name out there as well. Just doing interviews with people that are close to who you want. And then, like I said, it might just come off as the fact that based off, they just might see it. Not necessarily they're gonna fuck with you. I'm not saying that either. And I'm not automatically they're gonna see it, but it's still good for people to see your content, however that may look, even if it's just for a second or for somebody for sure.
So is there ever a time where you felt kind of like discouraged and the whole interviewing and the podcasting wasn't for you?
Yes, very. I felt very discouraged. I've had multiple times like that where I wanted to give up on this shit, and I literally felt like this isn't working or it's not gonna work. I think my first time I felt like that was the first few months I did it, and when I found out about the monetization thing, I'm like, like what it takes to really make money off of YouTube, the numbers are crazy. Like they're not even like reasonable numbers. And I think like trying to wrap my head around that, I got very discouraged. So I think like when I found out you need 1,000 subscribers to make money, like I felt very discouraged because I was like, bro, like how am I gonna get 1,000 people to subscribe to my YouTube channel? If you think about 1,000 people is a lot of people, and it's not easy, and it's very something that like we have 1,000 subscribers. I just wanted to let you guys know. I did get it, but it's something I had to really focus on and had to push through. But yeah, I've had moments like that, just trying to, you know, when I found out about the analytics and what it takes to really, you know, make it out here. Yeah, that was, I think, a time I got discouraged. You know, right before I probably did the Desto Dub interview as well, I felt very kind of, not before then, a little before the Desto Dub interview, you know, when I was a year into the game, I felt like I was just stuck, bro, and I wasn't really doing anything. I was doing stuff, but I felt like I wasn't moving up or anything like that. Like I had the podcast, I had people come to the house, you know, I was getting the subscribers up, but I felt like there was something like missing, like I wasn't moving anywhere. And then right when I felt like that, I got my first sponsor deal with Nothing But Hit Studios, and he's a studio owner out there in North Hollywood. Did an interview with him, and then he offered me my first deal. And then just like that, I was out there in LA, just like that, bro. And then, you know, so I've had multiple times throughout my career for sure I felt discouraged as well.
So during those times when you gained traction after you were discouraged, is that what kind of psyched you back into it? Like made you think like, okay, I can keep going with this?
Yeah, for sure.
Back into the game?
Yeah, definitely. I think like it's those times where you're about to give up, where things are about to happen for you. And I feel like any advice to anybody that's doing anything, that has a passion or like is trying to build something, it's usually those moments where you feel like you're about to give up or where things are about to change for you. And my advice to that is to push through it, bro, for real. And like those things came at like the most perfect times, you know what I mean? And then right after that, I got the studio, then Desto Dub came. And then some things just line up, bro, you know what I mean? That's why you just gotta keep pushing, bro. You just gotta keep pushing through that stuff. But yes, bro, I get discouraged a lot, bro. I have some bumps in the road. And then another time too, bro, is when, bro, I got my car broken into last year.
Damn.
And they took all my podcast equipment. Because I record out there in Hollywood, so I gotta be mobile. You know how that is, right? And it happened to be the one day I just wasn't using my equipment. We were at the studio doing something else, so I was in the car. And I got all my podcast equipment stolen from me, and that was very discouraging, bro. Like, that broke my heart. You know, I'm talking about my mics, just everything I started with. And so you have moments like that where you almost feel like, man, maybe it's a sign for me to stop. You know what I mean? But I got brand new equipment, and then next thing you know, interviews start rolling in again, and then, you know, so you just got to push through those moments for sure.
So you recently did something with Rio. Can you walk us through that? How did that go? How was that?
The Riodayungog interview, bro. Man, I'll walk you guys through this. I have a relationship with Desto Dub. I've known him for about a year now. Like, I feel like we've been cool for a year now. I met him like, I think 2 years ago, but we didn't do the podcast till last year. Then we started being cool. So I've known Desto Dub for a year now. That day for the Riodayungog interview, I honestly didn't know if I was gonna interview Riodayungog. Usually when, you know, Cough Syrup has stuff going on at the store, the publicist will tell me and like, hey, yo, Rel, like we got, you know, Caribou pulling up to the shop today. We're gonna leave you a media pass, like you can come film some content. That was not the case for Riodayungog. I just low-key seen that it was happening. I was just very confident in myself. I know Desto Dub, so I was like, you know what? I knew for sure I was gonna be able to meet him, Rio, but I wasn't too sure if I was gonna be able to interview him. That's the thing. So I was like, all right, we're just gonna see, you know, screw it. Let's just see what happens when I pulled up. So I pulled up, fat ass line, bro. You were there, bro. Like, man, how many people was in line, bro?
Shit, it was wrapped around the block. So
around the block, bro. I would say at least like 200, 300 people, like for sure were in line, waiting for hours, man. So I just walked past that whole line. You know what I mean? Just acted like I belong, which I do, of course. But, you know, like I said, prior to the event, I didn't tell anybody I was pulling up. I didn't tell Desto. I didn't tell the publicist. I just was like, I'm just going to pull up. Yeah. So I went in thinking, like, I don't know what's going to happen. And then I finally got the clearance. It was all good. You know, I got my media pass or whatever. And then right before I was about to do the episode, bro, or with Rio, you know, Desto Dub pulled up. And, you know, Dub comes and talks to everybody that's trying to do the media there. And he was like, I don't know if Rio's gonna want to do it, to be honest with you. He said, let me see the questions that you got. I'm gonna ask Rio, and then if he says yeah, then you'll be able to do it. So there was a real moment like before I did not know, because once Rio finally pulled up to the store, they got him inside, and then they moved Rio again, like to the back. And then that's where I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna get back there, but I'm already in here, like, which is one thing, right? Getting in the store is one thing, but then like trying to get back there is a whole other thing. So I was really not knowing if I was gonna do that interview, bro. And Desto Dub, he showed Rio the question. I don't know when he did it, but he apparently did it maybe he sent it to him. I don't know, but he showed it to him. I was just kind of like waiting around. Rio was in there. Rio moved to the back, and then now I'm just kind of chilling, thinking like, yo, am I gonna do this interview or what? Like, I don't know what's what. And then right when, next thing you know it, Desto looks at me, gives me the look, tells me to get up. The rest is history, bro. We walked back there. I said what's up to Rio. Super chill dude. Riodayungog is dead ass like the chillest guy on the planet. He was more chill than me, and like anyone that really knows me, I'm like pretty chill. But he was a dope guy, dope interview. And then yeah, we did it, and it was great, bro. It was a cool, smooth little quick interview. I got some contact information. Hopefully in the future you can see a podcast with me and Rio. But yeah, man, that was the whole process behind that, bro. It's crazy, and I'm glad I'm able to talk about it, because it's something that I bet a lot of people, like all this kind of just happened this week. So a lot of people are asking me like how I got that done. And yeah, man, like it started with, obviously knowing Desto, but yeah, that's all I went down.
So aside from that interview, what would you say is one of your favorites that you've done? What sticks out to you the most?
One of my favorite interviews that I've done. That's a good question. From what season? Give me a season. I got 3 seasons out.
Let's do season 2. Who would you say on season 2 you had the best chemistry with?
Season 2, best chemistry interview. Okay. I would have to give it to, man, my guests don't hate me for this. We got a lot of guests. I love every episode. I do. But if we had to answer, I would have to give it to, I'm gonna say Jug season. Producer Jug. If you guys don't know him, produced by Jug. He's one of the very poppin' producers out there in LA. He's done a lot of music with specifically O3 Greedo and the Hit Mob and a lot of great things. So I think Jug season was probably one of the best interviews. The chemistry was very organic. It was just a good conversation. I feel like when the conversation is good, that's what makes I've had good podcasts with people, but sometimes the conversation isn't as good. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't really like, but they're all cool in a way, you know what I mean? But sometimes you get more out of them than others. So I would have to give it to Jug season, produced by Jug, and then I'd have to give it to Sierra. That's one of my friends from high school. Hella cool. We did a podcast with her at the house, and I think it was just a dope conversation because she does OnlyFans and she does stripping and shit. So she was able to kind of like give us like the breakdown of what I'm sorry, she hates when I use that word, but what a dancer actually makes. Yeah. And I think it was pretty dope to actually get the real truth about that. Because a lot of women, they want to be dancers and stuff like that, but not necessarily know what comes with that and what comes along with that and how to get into that and yeah, what you're signing up for. I would give it to Sierra, and I would have to give it to Jug for season 2, for sure.
So what would you say is your overall goal with the whole podcast and interviews? Do you want to open your own like studio label one day? Do you want to sign to the radio? What's your whole plan? What's your whole plan going forward?
Right now, the plan for the podcast is to build a community. So people that support the podcast and to focus on that. Building our community is definitely something that we want to focus on, and just in-house, what we could do to get better. So before we start trying to venture out and try to be like this or be like that, I feel like focusing on what we can better and how we can get better is the number 1 priority right now. So long term, to open up a studio, yes, I do want to open up my own studio and not like the one in my house, like an actual official studio warehouse type. I don't know when that could be looking like happening. It could happen within the next 2 years, I believe. All just depends on how fast the thing goes. But yeah, eventually we want to open up our own studio, of course, the Real Me Studios. And radio, I wouldn't mind getting into radio. It's not really on my priority list right now. I think when it comes to that, I think I got a lot more growing to do as a host. And by doing that, takes doing interviews, bro. You get better as the more people you interview, the better you get, bro. And I think I'm not at the radio level just yet. I feel like maybe in a year I probably might be, but I think I still have a little more growing to do as a host. So eventually I would love to be on Power 106 or 92.3 with the radio. I would love to get into that, but it's nothing too much on my priority right now.
What's something you learned later in the game that you wish you knew when you first started?
What's something I learned later in the game that I wish I knew when I first started? It's a good question, brother. These are good questions, brother. This is good. This is good. I think the biggest lesson I've learned, but was something that I didn't really learn later. I think it's the first thing I actually learned, which is something that most people don't really find out till later, and is if you want to get things done, you gotta do it yourself. I think that's, and the only reason why it didn't take me long to learn this lesson is because this is something I left out kind of earlier in the interview, but when I wanted to start out the podcast, the original idea was to start it with one of my friends, and he was the one that was supposed to help me with the technical side with the cameras and the mics and YouTube and mostly like digital stuff, right? And because he bailed on me and I wasn't able to start it with him, it kind of taught me a very important lesson is things don't get done unless you do it. And that forces you to learn how to do things because you want to get something done. And I think that's the biggest lesson to anybody starting anything is if you really want something to get done and you have a vision, it's not going to get done without you, bro. I feel like a lot of people think hiring, and don't get me wrong, I have a team that works for me to this day. So I have an assistant, I have a cameraman, I have someone that runs my social media, whatever, right? But those people are add-ons. They can't take away from what we got going on. They only make things better. And that's the reason I say that is because a lot of people look for people thinking that they're going to be like some type of like solution or like something like that, bro. And I feel like people can only really help you get bigger, not really like make you get bigger. That makes sense, bro. And I think that's the biggest lesson I learned, man. Just like if you want something done, you got to take initiative and get it done yourself. For sure, bro.
So what's some advice you would give to someone that wants to pick up a camera and get into podcasting?
My advice to someone that wants to get into podcasting and pick up a camera is do it now. I think a lot of people, I run into a lot of people that come up to me and say, oh, I want to start this, I want to start my own channel, I want to start doing this, I want to start doing this. Start. Like, I feel like so many people are waiting around for like the perfect time or for like the perfect moment, and it's never really gonna be perfect, bro. Like, you really just gotta do things. Everything that I've had in my life with this podcast came from me starting from nothing. Like, literally from me just starting it at nothing. If I would have waited for this or for that to happen, things would have never got done. If I would have waited around for 1,000 subscribers, it would have never happened. If I would have waited to start making my way more out there to LA, that wouldn't, like, if you wait, things will never happen, bro. You have to start. Everything that I've got, all the money I've made, all the connections that I've made throughout my podcast, every view, every subscriber, all started from me starting, just getting it going. And I started with zero everything, zero videos, zero subs, zero Instagram. I literally started from nothing. I didn't wait around till I got an LA deal in the studio or until I met Desto Dub to start taking things more serious or get more sponsor deals. I never waited around for any of that, man. So my biggest advice to anyone that's thinking about, picking up a camera is to do it now. A lot of people want things to come fast, and it just doesn't work like that, bro. It starts with yourself, bro. It starts with yourself, for sure.
So the Rio interview kind of just dropped. It's still going crazy, but what can we expect from you in the next few months, I'll say? Next 2 months, what can we expect?
Okay, next 2 months, let's see. Right now we're like in summertime, so a lot of vlogs, so a lot of stuff like outside. So we're filming a lot of content like the Riodayungog interviews, like a perfect example of more interviews you're gonna see in the next couple months. So speed interviews, like I said, that was my second one that I did. We did a Bravo the Bag Chaser one a couple weeks ago. But from what I'm seeing, you guys my audience is enjoying it. So we're gonna try to get more interviews like that, more vlogs. And then once it starts cooling down, we'll get into more podcasts and more interviews and stuff like that. But Yeah, a lot more content, but a lot of outside content. A lot of outside content for sure. Yeah.
All right, bro. Any shout outs? Anything else you want to say to the people?
I just want to say, of course, shout out to Real Me fam, to everyone that supports my podcast, to the Real Me of Real. I love you guys. Thank you. I want to say shout out to you, brother, for bringing me onto your platform. I want to say shout out to Sunny Hills Barbershop, of course, for letting us do this interview here. So make sure you guys go follow them at Sunny Hills Barbershop. They take bookings now on Booksy, so you guys can go fuck with them. And yeah, make sure you guys go check me out. And I think that's pretty much it. Shout out my mom, I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
All right, new content coming soon.